Okay, we are at Creswick campus of Melbourne University, where there is some building works being done, but there's a beehive in this old heritage listed chimney. From the observational photos I've already seen before I got here, it's very weak. So we're on a boom, getting closer to have a look. Okay. So it only goes about a metre down, so it's not that far down, but there's just no way it's safely getting done off the boom, not with what needs to be done, and the bottom of the hive's not physically reachable from with the equipment. We're back here at Creswick, where they've now erected the scaffolding for this beehive. You can see bees are all clustered up together. It's been damp this morning. They won't be flying yet, but there's not much to this hive. So, yep. We're just bringing equipment up and we'll go from there. So we have the bee vac set up near the bottom of the scaffolding, and then the hose running up to the top. Two reasons. One, don't want to carry the bee vac and box all the way to the top, and two, I don't want to carry it all the way down after it's done. So the bees will end up down here and I'll do all the work up top. Either I'm getting unfitter or scaffolding's getting taller, because that was a tiring experience. I just think I'm getting old. Anyway, bare minimum equipment up here, just so I don't have to carry heaps of stuff up. And now we'll get the bee suit on and start the job. Because this is a heritage listed building, we've got to avoid doing external damage where possible to this chimney, and also because it's a relatively new hive. It's probably only been here this season, based on all the observations we've made. We're going to do this in a more unusual way. We've cut this timber so it fits just inside the cavity. We'll drill 4 holes, so a hole in each corner, and then we'll use the chains and that we've got in the box to lower the timber down below the hive. Once it's below the hive, we'll level out the platform so that nothing falls down as we're working. To get it down, we'll cut the bottom of screen part of the hive away from the wall, so there's a gap. That's the most unused section of the hive. Then when we level it out, we'll attach the chains to these bolts that we have up here. That way then we can cut the rest of the hive off the wall and lift the whole hive up and out of the chimney. So that's the way we can do it. If the hive had been here longer, this way just wouldn't work. The hive would be too heavy and too deep to actually work manually. My explanation may have made it sound simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds. As we start to pull the comb off from the edge, bees will go towards the disturbance, and that's where we're bee vacuum and aiming to ensure that bees aren't falling down the chimney while we're working. So it's what sort of slows things down. Go a bit faster once we can get the timber in under the hive. So you'll see the timber is part way down the hive. It doesn't have to go far now to be under the hive, but you're getting at that distance that really disturbed the bees, so I had to bivouac for a while just to calm them down. And now that they're calm again, I'll continue pushing the timber down below the hive. You'll see the chains are looped around the struts on the scaffolding, so that if I lose control of the chains and it drops when it gets below the hive, I don't lose the whole platform down the chimney. Hence why there are extra bolts and whatnot, so that we can then level it out properly. There we go, the timber's now below the hive. I haven't levelled it out yet, because obviously I've got to cut the sides to be able to level out properly. However, the next step's to just do a rough level, because I need to take out the sheet of comb that's on the left. It's not really attached to much and it doesn't have any resources in it, so it should, famous last words, come out nicely. There we go. So all the chains are equal length, so having counted 30 links and then connecting it to the chain, the board won't be level yet because obviously the chains aren't down all four sides evenly. However, I'll start to work to level it by taking out the sides. There we go, got the left hand side out in one piece. Just broke the top off as I was getting it out, but that's alright. I don't need to keep it in one piece. Thankfully it does have a little bit of honey in there, which is a good indicator. The hive looks really weak, but at least it's got some honey. There's no brood in this section, but there we go. So the pieces with some resources, I take off the bits that have nothing in them, and then I'll put them in the bucket. I'll frame them up down at the ute, so that I don't have to bring a box up here, and that way the bees get those resources back in their hive. You can see now the chains levelled out on the left hand side, and now I've just got to do something similar on the right hand side. A little bit harder because it's not a sheet, but hey, it's already a lot better than it was. Okay, we're now at the slowest part of the work, where we slowly bring the chain up, a couple of links at a time, just evenly on each side, so that we can raise the platform to the bottom of the hive. It's just slow and tedious. So if you're wondering how we're lifting the platform slowly so it gets to the bottom of the hive, we hang a couple extra hooks below the point. That way we can lift up one side, attach it to a new bolt, and then unattach those just by lifting it. We're only tilting the platform, we're not dumping anything that's on the platform off it. So then we'll change over to this side and do the same thing, lifting it by the same amount till it's at the bottom of the hive. So we've got one more little bit to go to get it to where we need it to, and then we'll look at starting to peel the hive off the its last face, which is at the top of the screen. And there we go. The platform is now at the bottom of the hive. The bottom of the hive is 1.20 m from the top of the chimney. Oh, one bee's escaped. That's alright. We'll now we'll bivouac some more bees, get them off the top of the comb and off the edges, and then we'll cut the hive off the side. it will fall to the platform, and well, it won't really fall because it's already at the bottom of the hive, but it will tilt, and then we'll lift the whole thing up out of the chimney. There we go, the hive is no longer attached to the wall, so now it's the fun of lifting it up. There we go, so we've raised the hive up. Now we'll focus more on bee-vacuuming the bees. We're going to start to have bees flying around and everything now, but yeah, let's work on this now a little bit quicker. Okay, I've been bee-vacuuming the bees as I lift the hive out. Yeah, just to give an idea of the hive. Yep, we still do have bees down the crevices and that, but just when I lift the full thing out and put it over there, I'm going to have a lot of bees flying around, so the more I can bee-vac while it's still sort of where it began, the better it will be. And this is the hive out. The left hand side is the top, and obviously where the base was is there. I've still got more bees to bee-vacuum, but we're well on the way. You'll see down the chimney, no bees down there at the moment because they were all in the hive. So now we'll work to get good pieces that we can frame up. Because the hive was so weak, yeah, let's be like that, they'd abandoned bits of brood, so there's dead brood cells here, but let's work and get this sorted. Okay, so there's the queen, middle of the screen, just there. We're going to, we wouldn't normally, but I've got the vacuum bee-vac, it's such a gentle suction that I am going to bee-vac her so she ends up in the hive with the rest of the bees. Yeah, so let's see, there she is. There we go. So now we'll just finish bee-vacuuming the remaining bees, and then we'll take the comb down and frame it up. There was some brood baby bees just here, which we'll frame up and then put in the ute so it's warm in the ute, and unite them back when we get to quarantine. There we go. So all the bees are bee-vaced. There was probably 5 to 10 bees that flew up and away. They may or may not come back. I'll go down and frame up the comb, and then they may come back to where this honey and crushed bit of comb is. Yes, we do lose a couple of bees in that process, but we were lucky it was so cold that we didn't have a heap of bees flying. And so we look down the chimney and we can see, even though we can't really scrape the hive very well off the wall, we've done pretty good. So there we go. We'll go frame this up now, and then we'll start looking packing up. Okay, we're now down at the ute and we're framing up the comb. Because there's some honey in the hive, we'll be framing that up and framing up any of the good comb that we can, including the brood, and that way at least they've got some initial resources, and then I'll put some feeder frames in when we get to quarantine as well. I'm now at the quarantine apiary. So once we framed up the comb, we had 3 frames of comb and resources. The hive's still blocked. Because we're in the middle of winter, I'm not wanting to just put that on like that on top, because I want to minimise how much area they have to heat up. So we'll, it's quite cold, so the bees won't be moving much, so I'll be able to add the 4 frames relatively easily. And then we'll reduce them to a smaller box in a few days once they've settled down. So you'll see the bees are doing their thing already, running around just trying to stay warm. We'll just add the frames in. And there we go. All united. Entrance is opened. Got the bucket of sterilised honey there so that we can feed them, but it's really cold today and they've been disturbed enough. They've got honey in there, so we'll feed them in a few days on a warmer day and reduce the hive.